Morning, Fractal Effects team. Please make sure you read the disclosure before we get started. If you're following along with us today, make sure you do in a demo account, as this is for educational purposes only. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. We'll jump onto the charts in a minute. Here we have oil on the left, sitting in a daily fair value gap. There's your previous day's highs and lows, so we swept the lows right at the blue zone, gesticulating. Now, we have a downside expansion model, and we do have a sell model as well. We are at that daily fair value gap. Remember, it's only a sell until it's not, and it's only a buy until it's not. And what that means is as soon as you hit a higher time frame PD array, like a fair value gap, or sweep out previous day's highs and lows, then the market could reverse. So you want to proceed with caution. Here we have NAS on the right. Just 1 second. So if we weren't sitting at this daily fair value gap, I'd be interested in well, the sell-off already came. It wasn't much of a move. So the market dropped, tapped right into the blue zone, and dropped and hit the middle of the daily fair value gap. Now we're back here this late in the game, again with the daily fair value gap under you. You've already swept out previous day's lows. This is where the market could reverse and continue up. So until you see a confirmation now, you're not looking for a sell until that happens. There's a lot of signs here for a sell. Again, it's just this daily fair value gap that I'd be cautious of. Plus, we've had a few days of just bearish candles. Usually after 3 days of bearish candles, you can also expect a potential bullish candle. NAS, on the other hand, just want to make sure we're looking at NAS here. So NAS has already swept out previous days, London lows. And we're back up at the New York Fair Value Gap. From the way NAS is going, I'd like to see it drop and take out previous days lows. But we're just going to wait for that confirmation. That blue zone that's painted out, that again is a very strong algorithmic zone. Market pushed from it and then came right back into it, and now it's having a hard time getting over it. So now that our range is already formed, I'd rather wait to see which way we confirm. But again, if this was before range confirmation, range formation, and we were tapping right up against that blue zone and we didn't have this daily fair value gap under us, I'd take that sell. You just want to wait for a 5M fair value gap to be created. So you can use that as your foothold. There's nothing in here yet. That's why I'm a little leery. So there's potential that it could just continue pushing up, but I want to see at least one red fair value gap on the 5M that we can use as a foothold to take this thing. Not too much room here either. Again, that's previous day's lows. So we're sitting well under previous day's lows and right at the midpoint of this fair value gap. So let's wait and see what happens here. Yesterday was Martin Luther King Day. So we have a lot of, the market closed early. So there was no proper purple zone. But again, the algorithm tries to pick up where it would be. As mentioned before, the purple zone also highly algorithmic zone. It's where the market trades into and pushes from. Here it became a TP for the London session. And now that we're sitting this late in the game, we're sitting under the purple zone and the blue zone and under the 238. I'm hoping, or expecting rather, I should say, the market to push down and give us a bearish confirmation. But we're just going to wait and see where that goes. Let's see if NAS actually creates a fair value gap and starts pushing down from here. All the telltale signs are kind of signaling a bearish confirmation. Just trying to see if did we bounce off that purple zone. So we bounced off the purple zone, off of the New York Fair Value Gap. That's what gave us that push down. And we have not swept previous day's lows. We're right at it. The next iteration of this indicator, the early entry indicator, the blue zone indicator, will have previous day's highs and lows painted out for you. It already paints out the New York manipulation, but again, you want to use that in conjunction with all your other confluence. Because here, today we actually broke to the downside. So we broke to the downside, which would then tell us that the market's going to actually move back up, but then it gave us a double manipulation where we moved down, came back up, tapped into the purple zone, into the NYC Fair Value Gap, and then pushed down. So that's a double fake out today. So still waiting for a confirmation on both oil and NAS. Oil still having a hard time getting over that blue zone. 40 seconds left. Let's see if this candle closes above the blue zone or crashes back down. So oil, we got a bullish confirmation. Now that immediately changes our bias. We're no longer looking for a sell. Since oil already had what we call an early pullback, I want to see it reacting off the blue zone. I'd like to see it come back, bounce off the blue zone, and that might be our potential buy to take out London highs. We do have a fair value gap forming right here as well. I don't believe there's a fair value gap at the blue zone, no. Nah, still gesticulating at that 238, right near the 20. We want to see this thing push down, take out previous day's lows. Remember, Tuesday's footprint usually takes out, or usually sets the low for the week, if we're bullish, which we are. So I'd like to see that just drop, give us a bearish confirmation, and we'll look for potential entry. Three minutes left. I want to see if this fair value gap stays open. If not, I want to see the market come back to the blue zone, bounce off of here, and then push up. minutes left. Let's see if that fair value gap stays open or how we move right here at the fair value gap. I mean, sorry, at the blue zone. Nah, still gesticulating right near the golden zone. We might push up, tap the golden zone, midpoint. If it gets over the purple zone, we're most likely going to get a bullish confirmation. Previous day's lows, let's just outline those. Well, even Asia lows are right here. So that fair value gap is now left open. I want to see this next candle. I'd like to see it bounce off the blue zone as well. This is our fair value gap of interest for oil. I want to see this candle reject in the next 3 minutes. Three minutes left. Let's take a look at it on the 1M. Now I want to see a green fair value gap be created. So right at that blue zone, it's still dropping. Again, this is why we wait for all the confluence. 1 minute, 36 seconds left. Low fair value gap in here where the market might come back down tap. Still dropping, but we're still at that blue zone. NAS still at New York fair value gap. Again, I want to see NAS just drop from here. Hammering right into the blue zone. Again, I think we're coming back down to that fair value gap and the 20 EMA. We already had an early retracement to the EMA, so I'm surprised it's doing another one. We might not get there. We might just bounce off this fair value gap and the blue zone. So now we technically closed below the blue zone. Now if this next candle pulls us back up, we might have a fair value gap being created there, but let's see. A whole bunch of back and forth from NAS. Even with the early entry model, today NAS didn't actually. So the early entry model, there was our blue zone that was created. The market went above it, created a fair value gap within the blue zone, use that to push down and take out London lows. And that happened, if I'm not mistaken, was that New York Open? Yeah, that was at New York Open. Oil, still pushing down now. Let's go back up to the 5M. I want to see if this candle closes below the blue zone. It's also creating a pretty big fair value gap here. Now keep in mind, all of our other confluence, as far as our models, we have a downside expansion model. We're stuck right at the golden zone, 71% and 61 to 71%. So this thing technically could push down from here. Having a tough time staying above the blue zone. This is how you use these two indicators in confluence. You could get a bullish confirmation, but if you're having a tough time getting over the blue zone, then the market wants to push down. So now it's created, we got 2 minutes left. I want to see if it leaves this fair value gap open. One minute, 49 seconds left. It leaves this fair value gap open. and it has a tough time getting over this blue zone. I might not be interested in looking for a buy. This is a tough one. Again, all the confluence is telling us that this thing wants to push down, but then we just got a bullish confirmation, and on top of that, we're sitting at the midpoint of a daily fair value gap. That's what this big yellow box is. The indicator didn't paint this out. This is just higher time frame market analysis. So we're sitting right at the midpoint of that daily fair value gap on oil. So it's one of those days you got to proceed with caution. Go over every bit of confluence. Right now they're not matching up. We got a bullish confirmation downside expansion model. And we're sitting right at the golden zone and the blue zone. So these two indicators are telling us two different things right now. And when they don't match up, you want to avoid taking a trade there. If it wasn't for this daily fair value gap, I'd still be bearish. But we've had, again, more than 3 consecutive daily candles close in one direction, which usually does mean that there might be a reversal coming, even if it's a short-term reversal. And the more NAS gesticulates here, the worse the probabilities become as well. We bounced off the higher range fib of 61% or close to 61%. Now it's gesticulating right there at that 20 EMA. That's why we're going to wait for confirmation, see which direction it wants to go. Oil coming back up into that fair value gap. I want to see if it has the ability to get over the blue zone. It can tap this fair value gap, but I want to see if it closes above the blue zone. Technically, if we're going to drop, we should not have another candle closing above the blue zone. Wicks are fine. I want to see if it respects or disrespects the blue zone right now. About 4 minutes away from 11. 3 minutes left in this candle. We're back at that fair value gap. For the early entry model, you want to use that only up until the range is formed. And then Spotlight takes over. If Spotlight is giving you a buy signal and we start dropping from the blue zone, we're not suddenly changing our bias and looking for a sell. That means these two indicators are not in confluence with each other. We just avoid that trade. Remember, day trading is not everyday trading. Nah, still gesticulating right there under the 20, under the 238, under the New York, it's pretty much under all of our zones. 1 minute left. We'll find this fair value gap. This is the only fair value gap created on the 1M. It has not been tapped yet. Twenty seconds left. So now we had another candle close above the blue zone. That means if you get a fair value gap, it might be worth taking it. But you do have a mixed model. Probabilities are lower. You have a downside expansion model. As mentioned before, we're sitting right at the golden zone where reversals happen. And it's above the blue zone. That's US oil on the left. NAS on the right. NAS now looks like it's dropping. Remember, this stuff is supposed to look obvious. Today it doesn't look so obvious. It's playing both sides. One model is telling us the market's going up, the other model is telling us the market's going down, and then you have this daily fair value gap. That's why we use higher time frame market analysis. See, let's go back up to the daily candle. Look at that. Look at that deep wick. Touch the midpoint of this fair value gap. And we have all these consecutive fair value gaps driving straight to it. This could easily just reject from here and head back up. Or, as mentioned before, we have confluence saying we have a downside expansion model. We're still right at the golden zone. And we are still getting rejection on both sides. I want to see if this 5M fair value gap stays open. Since it already disrespected this one. 2 minutes left. And then on the 1M. And the funny thing is, this is just the way the markets are today. No news this week. Let's check a Forex Factory real quick. That was yesterday. Unemployment claims on Thursday. Crude oil inventories. And some news on Friday, but that might be the reaction right here. It's not a market I'm interested in. Again, it's playing both sides. It's not that obvious to me today. But we've hit that fair value gap. That'd be the stop loss down there. A couple of pips below this. It's just not a trade I'm interested in today. All the way to the purple zone. Too much gesticulation happening here, but it's a low probability. Or we try to do 70% or higher. Let's see if this fair value gap is now left open on the 5M. If it is, that's at least a good sign. We are above the blue zone. We did leave this fair value gap on the 5M. The market's coming back down to it. That might be your second entry. As mentioned before, just not something I'm interested in right now. Now it's giving us a whole bunch of nothing. Still just stuck right there. No confirmation. I'd like to see it just drop. I had no other confirmation across any of the assets. As mentioned before, it might just be that kind of day. Didn't really get a tap here of the fair value gap yet. That's the 5M fair value gap. Two minutes left. Now we're at that fair value gap. Let's see what it does when it taps that blue. Remember, the blue zone's painted on all time frames. There's another opportunity there. This is the only real opportunity here. Again, low probability, not something I'm interested in, but it could go up from here. This is what separates, I guess, professionals from retail traders. If all the confluence isn't matching up, we don't get FOMO. I feel zero desire to jump into this. Since we're doing this for educational purposes, I painted it out though. That would be a stop loss. That would have been your entry with your TP at the purple zone. Where our pip calculator disappeared to? Here it is. NAS is really just messy. It could actually push up, but it's got so much resistance to go through. It has to get through the NYC fair value gap. It's got to get through our purple zone. And it's got to get through the blue zone. And that's previous days. Actually, I'm not sure what that is. I believe that's previous day gap. But yeah, this seems to be the only valid setup, and even this is not clean or smooth. About 20 minutes left in our stream. We are going to start actually now in the Learning Hub. We do have a course on swing trading. So if you're looking to trade stocks or ETFs or anything, it's the perfect course. On top of that, we might add a section. We're actually in the process right now of seeing how we would do that and where it would be added. We might add our own personal picks. Again, that's not financial advice. That's just us showing you how to do top-down market analysis and finding the best stocks that are looking to push. So we do the market analysis for you, is all we're really doing. And so it might be our top 5 picks for that month or that week. We're trying to make this as much of an immersive experience for our users as possible. Our Discord should be coming soon. The goal is, at the end of the day, to create a community where people can share ideas and even elaborate on certain trades of where they entered, build a community. That's what people usually, at the beginning, when you're starting to trade, the more people in your community, the better, that you can learn off of, talk to. Because day trading is a very unique career. It takes a very unique mindset. So creating community allows you to find these people. A little over 15 minutes left. Not really giving us much movement here. Let's see if oil can actually get up here during this market analysis. Let's go back up to the 5M. So let's look at the confluence and why this is a low probability trade setup. So our spotlight indicator is giving us a downside expansion model. At the same time, we got a bullish confirmation. We've hit a daily fair value gap where reversals usually happen. On top of that, we have had more than 3 consecutive down closing candles, which in itself is a bit of an alarm. You can expect sometimes, as mentioned before, even if it's on a short-term basis, some kind of a reversal after 3 daily candles closing in the same direction. And we go over that in the Learning Hub. So the confluence, if we're just looking at the session, is bearish. But with the bullish confirmation, us hitting the daily fair value gap, the fact that we're above the blue zone right now, this late in the game, but at the same time we're sitting right at the golden zone. So it's playing both sides. It's engineering liquidity on both sides. That's why it's not moving immediately. That's why it makes for a low probability trade setup. Doesn't mean that it can't still get up there. Just means it's going to make you wait, and it could reverse on you. That's why it's not a probability. It's not a trade that I would take. But for educational purposes, we are going to walk through it. NAS now back at the New York Fair Value Gap. How it does at the purple zone right here is going to tell us everything we need to know if this thing wants to push down or not. Still no confirmation. Oil bouncing off the 20 EMA. Let's see if it starts giving us these displacement candles instead of just these anemic candles back and forth. We want to see big candles pushing up right into the purple zone. Just like the blue zone guides the path for the New York session, the purple zone guides the path for the Asia and the London session. It's usually an area that London is either drawn into or it creates the London reversal. Can't remember what it was today. Let's see. So there's London, and there's the purple zone. So it created the London. Well, London was already pushing down, so London bounced off the purple zone, pushed down, and now it's drawn back into the purple zone since we're above the blue. Remember, once you get above these zones are continuously painted. They're areas of TP. The market's now drawn to the purple zone. And if it got over that, it would be drawn to the next purple zone. Let's drop back down to the 1M. Oil still giving us these anemic candles, still sitting in that golden zone, engineering new liquidity. There are people that are looking to go short off of this. Pushing up now still. New York, once again, pushing down from the NYC fair value gap. I believe that's the London fair value gap. Yeah, there's a London fair value gap right there in the green. Our bias was bearish, taking forever to drop. So there's no way during this session this bias is going to become bullish. We'll have to punch through all of this resistance and then give us a bullish confirmation. And who knows how long it's going to take to actually drop. We only got 10 minutes left in our session. But this is one of those days you just avoid it then. You have no confirmation. So the only real play here on NAS was the early entry model. We had a NYC drop, pull back in to the purple zone, to the NYC fair value gap, and then a drop to take out London lows. Oil now past 71%. Let's see if it can push right into the purple zone by the end of our session here. So now when you see anemic candles like this, you never know what's coming. Once the market has hit your fair value gap of interest, you should start seeing displacement candles. And this is one of the reasons we make sure we safeguard our position by moving up our stop loss, is because when you start seeing these anemic candles, the market could just do another push down. Doesn't mean it's not going to continue in your direction. It just means it could do one more push, take out any last stops before actually going and hitting its TP. Where's our calculator here? I just want to see. Where 2R would be at. Are we at least at 2R? 2R is pretty much right at the purple zone anyways, at the yellow line there. Yeah. Again, sloppy day today. As kind of expected after Martin Luther King Day. No news day today. First 2 to 3 weeks after New Year's. Just a bunch of back and forth gesticulation. About 7 minutes left. I'd like to see it at least tap that purple zone. Then we'll conclude the session there. Market slowly moving up. No real displacement candles, just these small anemic candles. So it's going to take its time getting up there. 6 minutes left. So as mentioned before, we got a few things that we're going to try to add to the back end of the platform in 2025. We're trying to make this as easy as possible for our users. Even these indicators are literally paint by numbers. Just want to match everything up. The next iteration of the blue zone indicator will have previous day's highs and lows, and then we're adding in a couple of other things. Now we're getting another pullback. This one will be a slow one. But please make sure you check us out on fractaleffects.com, where we teach high probability trading. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you know when we're live. We'll be on again tomorrow. For about 3 minutes, let's see where this candle goes. Let's just jump back up to the 5M. Getting a wick here, 1 minute, 30 seconds left. We'll make this our last candle. So this was the only decent trade setup, low probability. But you can see how we marked it up at least. So we used the blue zone as our confluence. As the market came up over it, there's a fair value gap there, but again, low probability, with the purple zone being our target. The market was playing both sides. 41 seconds left. Let's see if we can at least hit the yellow line there. NAS Still frozen at the New York fair value gap, not really giving us anything. No confirmation to either side. And even the early entry model was rather quick moving. Really only had 5 minutes to see that tap rejection and get in there. So that's where we'll conclude the session today. Have a good rest of the day. We'll see you guys tomorrow.